Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, we would like to thank all of our donors and participants for allowing us to host this event celebrating World Refugee Day. It's a privilege to be able to celebrate and share these stories with all of you. This year, we're not only celebrating World Refugee Day, but also the 40th anniversary of the passage of the Refugee Act of 1980. Tonight, we can look forward to hearing a selection of songs, poems, speeches, and readings from refugees and staff from the Catherine McAuley Center. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR, a refugee is someone who fled his or her home and country and is unable or unwilling to return to that country because of a well-founded fear of persecution on account of their race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion. By the end of 2019, 79.5 million people, or 1% of the world's population, have been forcibly displaced worldwide as a result of persecution, conflict, violence, and human rights violations. That amounts to approximately 20 people every minute who have had to leave everything behind to escape war, persecution, or terror. While that number includes those who remain in their home country but have been forced to flee their homes and cities, 26 million of those people were forced to cross borders to seek refuge outside of their home countries. It's a growing problem. In the past decade, the number of refugees has more than doubled, from about 10 million in 2010 to well over 20 million at the end of 2019. The Refugee Act of 1980 was introduced following the Vietnam War. It was passed unanimously by the Senate in late 1979 and signed into law by President Jimmy Carter in early 1980. The Refugee Act of 1980 amended the earlier Immigration and Nationality Act and the Migration and Refugee Assistance Act. It codified the definition of a refugee, raised the annual ceiling of refugees from 17,400 to 50,000, created a process for reviewing and adjusting this refugee ceiling to meet emergency needs, and required annual consultation between Congress and the President. In fact, Iowa Governor Robert Ray was a champion for refugees in the United States' earliest days of resettlement. At Catherine McAuley Center, we are committed to working to offer hope and opportunity through educational and supportive services that promote stability, skill building, and connection. These are all things that are essential for refugees as they look to resettle and rebuild. It's necessary for us to work with them, listen to them, ensure that they are welcomed into our Eastern Iowa community. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Join with us in celebrating refugees.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Gates. I work here at the Catherine McAuley Center. I'd like to read something that I wrote back in 2018 around Thanksgiving, but I think it is even more relevant today as we celebrate World Refugee Day and also the 40th anniversary of the Refugee Act of 1980. This is entitled, "Why I'm Thankful for Refugees." Sometimes it takes fresh eyes to see the world anew. Sometimes it takes a new person to expose the wonders of the mundane, the excitement of a child combined with the perception of an adult. I work with refugees, people who arrive in our city, our state, our country after a journey of years. Many endured unspeakable evil. Some saw their children sexually abused. Some saw soldiers beat or abduct loved ones. Others carry scars, physical and mental, scars that may never go away. They come lacking a sense of home. They arrive here full of memories, many more painful than any inside my head, to begin a new life. The intersection of their life with mine changes me, forbids me to overlook or take for granted the joys and blessings of my life. I meet them at the airport, Their smiles and excitement inspire me. I take them to appointments. Their hopes for the future challenge me. I guide them towards self-sufficiency. Their struggles sober me. Simple, ordinary chores take on a higher meaning. Actions that I might zone out or power through come into focus as my new friends from Africa or Asia do them for the very first time. First time to ride an airplane. First time seeing snow. First time wearing a seatbelt. First time feeling the bitter chill of an Iowa wind. First trip to Walmart. First cell phone. First time cooking on an electric stove. First good pair of shoes. First time touching a thermostat. First time drinking water from the tap. First time on an elevator. First time. Other firsts soon join the initial crop. First English class. First job. First paycheck. First time paying rent. First accurate diagnosis of a medical condition. First dreams of my children have a future. First sense of stability and security in 2 decades. If I were not beside these refugees through these firsts, I would endure these experiences, not cherish them. Many repetitions leave these experiences stale and bland. Yet when I look at a Walmart run, a doctor's appointment, a bank visit, a drive down the streets of Cedar Rapids through the eyes of my clients, I see them for the first time. I'm thankful for refugees. My gratitude comes not from the name. The epithet refugee designates a tragedy because no one should be forced to flee their country because of who they are or what they believe. The refugee experience encapsulates the whole range of human emotions. Some display superhuman resolve and audacious hope in the face of sheer evil. Others break under the strain and may spend the remainder of their lives gathering pieces. Yet the people who bear the title refugee have changed my life for the good. That change is not unique to me. Many who have spent time with refugees, talking with them, hearing their stories, share a similar testimony. As I reflect on the lives of these refugees, their joys and sorrows, their hopes and fears, their dreams and dreads, my thoughts erupt with gratitude. If you have never spoken to a refugee, consider it. If you find yourself numb from the daily grind, perhaps befriending a refugee will jolt you from your apathy. Doing so may not only gain you a new friend, thoughts of gratitude may so well up inside you that grateful words will flow from your lips, grateful deeds from your hands. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Blakeney, and I'm the Employment Services Coordinator here at the Catherine McAuley Center. So that means I help refugees and immigrants find and maintain employment and self-sufficiency. So the next reading comes from Ronald Reagan's final speech as president, given at the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award ceremony on January 19th, 1989. A solid portion of his speech revolved around the idea that, quote, anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American, end quote. As we spend the day celebrating refugees and their stories and contributions to our country and community, I think this section is most fitting. This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. We lead the world because, unique among nations, we draw our people, our strength from every country and every corner of the world. And by doing so, we continuously renew and enrich our nation. While other countries cling to the stale past, here in America, we breathe life into dreams. We create the future, and the world follows us into tomorrow. Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas, and always on the cutting edge, always leading the world to the next frontier. This quality is vital to our future as a nation. If we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Zainich, and I'm the Director of Refugee and Immigrant Services here at Catherine McAuley Center. I'm excited to share with you one of my favorite books titled My Name Is Not Refugee by Kate Milner. My name is not refugee. We have to leave this town, my mother told me. It's not safe for us, she said. Shall I tell you what it will be like? We'll have to say goodbye to old friends. You can pack your own bag, but remember, only take what you can carry. What would you take? We'll say goodbye to our town. It will be a bit sad, but quite exciting too. We'll march and dance and skate and run and walk and walk and walk and wait and wait and wait and get up again and walk and walk. Sometimes we will be by ourselves. It might get a bit boring. Sometimes we will be with other people. We will see lots of new and interesting things. We'll sleep in some strange places. We'll hear words we don't understand. And taste new foods. We'll get to a place where we are safe and we can unpack. What things would remind you of your old home? And soon those strange words will start to make sense. You'll be called refugee, but remember, refugee is not your name. The end. And now we are very pleased to be joined by some of our friends who will be joining us from their homes and sharing their own experiences in their own words.
Hello, everybody joining. I want to say Happy Refugee Day to everybody, people that work with refugees and the refugees themselves. If you were here watching the Zoom, that means you're actually safe and you've made it to a safer place if you're a refugee. And for those who are working with refugees, we say thank you on behalf of the refugees in the United States. My name is Dr. Louis Wocka. I was born and raised in Juba, South Sudan, the present day capital of South Sudan, where I spent my early childhood and I did my primary school and the early beginnings of my life. During my childhood, my life was actually, my childhood life was interrupted with frequent fights that perhaps many of you guys have known in countries like South Sudan and other countries in Africa that are torn by wars. Perhaps some of the wars in Africa, South Sudan war is one of the longest wars that is actually taking place in Africa. Growing up, life is just as normal to, like any child that is born. We like to play with clay, we like to go to the river, we like to go to places. But as a refugee, the experience is kind of that moment or those formative years are kind of like subject to a lot of interruptions. In 1998, when I was, still a young boy, myself and some of my young fellows in my town got recruited into joining the SPLA rebels in South Sudan with the hopes of that we got lured that we might be taken out for, education. However, that promise turned out to be a false promise. It was actually a way to kind of get us into be a fighting soldiers in the war. Knowing that that was not the situation that I wanted for myself and my family, didn't also think that is where the situation for me to be in. They decided to send me in 1998 up to the northern part of the country, which was considered a little bit safer than South Sudan. In 1998, I came to Khartoum, where I proceeded to continue with my education out in Khartoum, which is the capital city of present-day Sudan. There I went to St. Augustine Secondary School, where I proceeded to finish my high school education. And in 2003, of course, challenges also in Khartoum wasn't, life wasn't as smooth as it's supposed to have gone for me as a young person, leaving my family, my mom, and everything I know behind. I have to also move again because in the northern part of the country, things wasn't also going as smooth as they're supposed to go for me. People from South Sudan are mistreated in the northern part of the country, and sometimes those mistreatments get to a point where like sometimes people actually that, get killed. Extrajudicially, of course, without any due processes or anything that, if you're accused of, being part of some sort of rebels or something, you might end up, getting into prison or getting killed. In 2003, I had decided that situation in Khartoum wasn't the best situation for me. I also have to pack up my bag and move on forward. And I decided to flee to Egypt, Cairo. And in Egypt, that is also a foreign land. And becoming a refugee began to sink in for me as like a person that is almost a traveling person always. In Egypt, I had to survive. I had to figure out the way of how to kind of like, shelter myself, feed myself, and provide myself with, survival kind of necessities. I took on any jobs that could, any person could take in Cairo, ranging from cleaning houses to, doing some, daily chores for people in order to get paid. And those are sometimes most of the humiliating jobs that you would kind of like encounter. However, as a refugee, you sometimes, the main thing for you to kind of like, put, in your mind is to survive for the next day. In Cairo, of course, there is a refugee program that they had where all people that, either flee their countries or they flee their countries from various situations and various countries have to go through the United Nations process. 6 months into my arrival in Egypt, that program got overhauled for people that are from South Sudan because there was like a process going on in place for peace process that was supposed to have been signed at that time. So the United Nations put a pause on anybody that is actually applying for refugee status, and those who have already been resettled to new places or new countries would be the one that are to be processed. It was, of course, a devastating news for anybody that thinks, perhaps, they're gonna end in Egypt or, their life is just gonna be in Egypt, because in Egypt, there is no hope for anything. You just live day to day. You don't know what changes might come. And shortly after that, I got lucky, and because I was actually fluent in English to a certain degree, I got a job working as a teacher, teaching young refugee kids in Cairo. Because in Cairo, there was like a big population of South Sudanese refugees out there that have children, and those children needed to kind of like get some sort of basic education. And I was lucky to be part of helping teach those children. And then Thereafter, I got a job with IOM, an international organization for migration, as an interpreter because I speak, Arabic and I speak English. Through that job at IOM is where my luck kind of took a turn for the better. I had an opportunity after working for the IOM to be given a opportunity to apply for a visa that is actually different from the normal processes that go through the United Nations. And this was a direct process through the American embassy to kind of like give opportunity for those who actually work with them. And in 2006, that opportunity came to fruition. I was resettled to come to Iowa, and I was resettled to Des Moines. Like the earlier speaker spoke, he talked about picking people from the airport. And I was among perhaps one of those people that got picked up from the airport. The excitement of seeing the first snow, the excitement of meeting new people, the excitement of being in a different place, and the hopes of actually making something out of my life begin to kind of like, blossom again. In Des Moines, I was settled through the Department of Human Services in Des Moines, and there I kind of like settled in Des Moines as a citizen, as a citizen within the Society of Des Moines. Coming into the United States, I was always kind of concerned of getting education for myself and to better myself in order to assimilate fully into the society. I started going to school. I started my school at DMAC, which is the Des Moines Area Community College, where I got my associate degree in 2011. And then there I proceeded to transfer to University of Iowa, where I got my bachelor's degree in biochemistry in 2015. And then after 2015, I started a job out in the University of Iowa as a microbiology lab technologist. And then a year after, of course, at that time of already, me and my wife were expecting a kid in that year. So I have to kind of like, juggle all that together. But I still had like the interest of pursuing, further education. And in June of, I think in fall of that same year, I had applied to pharmacy school and I was accepted, and I started pharmacy school in the fall of 2016 while having a baby at the same time. It was challenging. It was tough, but of course, one thing as a refugee, you have to do the best you can with whatever you have. And that kind of like, have created resilience and, perseverance and the ambition among, many refugees, myself included. I continued my education at the University of Iowa, where I obtained my Doctor of Pharmacy degree just this past spring. And I am so excited, looking forward to what the future looks like and what the opportunities that I might get in the United States. I really appreciate you guys for all you do and for all the people that work with refugees here in the United States and across the world. As we celebrate this day, we have to keep in mind that refugees are just human beings like us, and refugees are people that just had some sort of misfortune that came their way, and they're just seeking for a better opportunity, a second chance to kind of like start over. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for listening to me, and let us celebrate together. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Zuri Jackson. So I wrote a free verse poem titled Not So Normal Life of a Teenage Girl. What motivated me to write this poem was a book I read titled The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Student. Just like Junior in the book, I too left my home. I was born in a country called Namibia. The town I lived in was like the res, not as developed as what was outside, absolutely corrupt. My mom is a Kavango lady, my ancestral tribe. My dad, a German Dutchman, transferred from Germany to live in Namibia. He bumped into my mom and here I am. Isolation has its advantages. Junior sister locked herself up in her parents' basement. I did the same, except I locked myself away from the world. I had friends that weren't friends. Buddha, but Mensa, they'd always taught me, reminding me of my difference, but I was indifferent. Feeding the wolf. My family and I were not rich, but we were not poor either. Sometimes there would be absolutely nothing in the fridge. In Namibia, workers are paid at the end of the month. At the end of the month, it was a celebration for most people, but not for my family. The end of the month meant my mom had to pay off debts, electricity, the rent, water. The remainder was used for food. Like Junior said, being hungry makes food taste better. Like my mom says, a hungry wolf is much stronger than a satisfied dog. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. I'm walking down the road. Someone approaches me. Priameyo skuna. I don't want to give them my shoes. They're mine. They raise a knife or a gun or a handful of sand. You give or you die. Walking around with expensive, fancy things is a risk very few people take. I belong deeply to myself. I am now living in a new world, a different world. A world where you can state your opinion and not get scolded or beaten for doing so. A world where people are not forced to be the same. I feel that I belong. Belonging is not about agreeing or disagreeing. It is about showing up no matter what happens. I always wanted to belong in the world, but before I belong to anything else, first I have to belong to myself. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Flora, and I'm currently working at CMC. I wrote a little poem just to kind of represent my journey before I tell my story. It's called Kites. Like kites whisked away by wind, we found freedom in our own corner, hidden behind iron walls we call dreams, guarded by thorns of roses that flavored the gardens of lands we call dreams. Our own piece of wonderland, hidden in our minds. We found peace in brick walls that could not contain our minds. We were free to dream of stars that we could not touch, only to be held prisoner by the same dreams we called escape. Like birds, we kept flying against the flow of wind. We swam upstream, kept running on a winding path against ourselves. We forgot the moments that made us kites, that made us soar, the lost dreams that plowed our barren fields. We forgot the color of the sky. We forgot to stop. We forgot to remember the light of reality, the clarity of dreams. Escapes became prisons, limiting our minds, restraining our hands from touching the stars we long to become. We forgot the wisecracks, the half-witted jokes, the bravery to reach for the stars, the audacity to dream, because we ran too long. This is a little poem I wrote mostly because it represents my journey, being born and raised in a refugee camp like I was. Most people don't really consider that being a life for themselves. How do you live your life being somewhere you're not supposed to be? Personally, my parents said I identify as Congolese, but before I turned 10, I didn't even know what Congo was. I had never been in my home country, but I didn't get the chance to even sit in my home country for very long. I only spent 6 months before I had to run from another war. And I spent my entire life running until I turned 16, and voila, I'm in America, which also came very sudden, to the point where I also want to run. I mean, hey, I'm living the dream. That's what people say. It's miles above the steps my parents wanted for us. it's the dream everybody wants where I grew up. But like, how often do people realize what they have is somebody else's dream? Like, they will literally die running towards this dream. So like, as we celebrate World Refugee Day, I don't want people to remember this little girl that always ran and ran for too long because she didn't know where she belonged. I want people to remember that there are still people running, as I am running towards a different goal now. There are others running towards where I am, and those are the type of people I want people to remember, because I may have reached a place where I can say I'm at peace. I can finally stop running from the wars, but at the same time, I'm fighting different wars at the moment, because there are other roads I have to explore now. Before, it was always about surviving the next day, making sure you live another day to dream, or you at least be able to get up and run towards those dreams. But now it's more about running towards finding me, because I never had that growing up. It was always about just making sure you are alive to run. Now it's more about running in order to find yourself. But I want you to remember there are people still running to survive. A refugee doesn't just represent the statistics you'll find on UN websites. It means every single person trying to run. There's so many more people out there who've not been documented, who are not on any statistics, but they're still running. And people like us, I mean, like, I'm not really out of that statistics, I'm part of that statistics, but I want the one person who does not have anyone to defend them like I did. I want that person to be a part of that statistics. They can become a part of your statistics, because you're watching this, you remember that person is out there, and they need you to remember them. You may not know their name, but at least from me, you'll know there's someone out there that's running. And they're running not because they have a dream to catch, but because survival depends on it. So remember, I ran too long, but there's someone else still running along the race. And that's the person I want you to remember. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. I thought I was still muted. My name is Girmay Andom. I'm from Eritrea, East Africa. It's been almost 3 years since I arrived to the States. I came here on November 15th of 2017. And yeah, I'm like, when I think of my first arrival right now, and it was full of excitement, full of surprises, and then like at the same time wondering what my next life is gonna look like. I arrived in Iowa City Airport, and then I was welcomed by Catherine McAuley Center staff members, and until like I left Iowa, I was very much supported and yes, supported by Catherine McAuley Center until I left Iowa. I left Eritrea like many millions of other Eritreans who fled persecution and enforced national service, what we call it, the modern time slavery. Many Eritreans lost their lives leaving the country or either try to make it to other countries. So I'm one of the few luckiest people who made it to the States safe here. I'm gonna share with you one of my songs that I wrote some years back. It's a story about, it's a love story about someone who also left his home behind, but wondering and thinking about his love who left it back since childhood. And yeah, I'm gonna share it with you. I'm gonna just use my guitar. My musicians are not here today. It's called Taqadime. It's also, it have a music video on YouTube. دحر نويح آمتا كتقوى متني داي مسانكي مسلكي لمني وياني دحر نويح آمتا كتقوى متني داي مسانكي مسلكي لمني وياني oh نعخي زرقبه أملاك هبو فغرقي زستمقري تعادلوا تنعتيز نبري قلواني نو ويانس تقدمي ويانيها سفركي لبيزة تذكري أخي نكما نعيني تلالي حققي دنجكي انت عايزي كبركي نسخي حققي دنجكي انت عايزي كبركي نسخي Oh, I wish if I could see you again for the last moment. Just to sit by your side, honey, why, honey, why, honey, oh, yeah. يا ريت لو تعرفي كان فاقد حنانك وريت لو تعرفي كم مشتاق لعيونك والدنيا كالغربة وعزلة من غيري واي أنا استقدمت واي أنا oh oh yeah yeah oh oh hey دحر نويح أمتات كتك وامتني داهي مسانكي مسلكي لمني ويعني That's in Tigrinian language. My second song here is one of the Eritrean folk famous song. It's about starting a new life and starting a new journey with a new horizon. كحمامي قربت حشني كحمامي قربت حشني سلامتكي كيركي دعس سني سلامتكي كيركي دعس سني كحمامي قربت حشني كحمامي قربت حشني سلامتكي كيركي دعس سني سبلتكي كيركي دعس سني كم زديو نيرت وعلنا كن الظالم حلنا بحلنا كم زديو نيرت وعلنا كن الظالم حلنا بحلنا أوه 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 عنتق العازم أمن سرباي عنتق العازم أمن سرباي نجاسي كنت تحاين نجاسي كنت تحاين كاب حمامي قربت حشني كاب حمامي قربت حشني زانتي ضحكة سني زانتي ضحكة سني إيه أوه إيه كم سنة يوم نرت وعلنا كي نتعلم وحلنا تحلنا كم سنة يوم نرت وعلنا كي نتعلم حلنا تحلنا أوه 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 يا رنا no 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 كاب حمامي قربت حشني كاب حمامي قربت حشني سالكي كنت سني سالكي قركت سني كاب حمامي قربت حشني 다 마음을 꾸룩다 하셨네 사발리케 이렇게 따스했네 사발리케 이렇게 따스했네 오오오오오오 에아 I hope you would like to thank you for having me the chance to be here. And I thank again everybody working in Catherine McAuley Center and then try to help other refugees like me. I truly appreciate that and then send them my love and respect for all of them, especially Leah and Katie.
Hi, my name is Katie Sleen. I'm the Volunteer and Outreach Coordinator. And my name is Kelsey Stein. I'm the Development and Communications Manager here at the Catherine McAuley Center. And we are going to be reading a poem titled Refugees by Brian Bilston. This poem will be read twice, the second time in reverse. Listen to hear a message of fear and then hope. They have no need of our help, so do not tell me these haggard faces could belong to you or me. Should life have dealt a different hand, we need to see them for who they really are, chancers and scroungers, layabouts and loungers, with bombs up their sleeves, cutthroats and thieves. They are not welcome here. We should make them go back to where they came from. They cannot share our food, share our homes, share our countries. Instead, let us build a wall to keep them out. It is not okay to say, these are people just like us. A place should only belong to those who are born there. Do not be so stupid to think that the world can be looked at another way. And now in reverse. The world can be looked at another way. Do not be so stupid to think that a place should only belong to those who are born there. These are people just like us. It is not okay to say, build a wall to keep them out. Instead, let us share our countries, share our homes, share our food. They cannot go back to where they came from. We should make them welcome here. They are not cutthroats and thieves with bombs up their sleeves, layabouts and loungers, chancers and scroungers. We need to see them for who they really are. Should life have dealt a different hand, these haggard faces could belong to you or me. So do not tell me they have no need of our help. Well, that concludes our evening and our celebration of World Refugee Day. Thank you so much to all of you joining us from home and tuning in. Thank you to all of our presenters who shared their stories, their talents, their writings. And I'd also like to thank our annual sponsors at the Catherine McAuley Center. There are countless businesses throughout the community who make events like this possible throughout the year by helping to cover those costs and help us reach out to more people in our community and engage them in our mission. Those sponsors I'd like to name are United Fire Group, Kepros Physical Therapy and Performance, Precision Drywall, Farmers State Bank, Rinderknecht Associates, Amperage Fundraising and Marketing, DC Taylor Company, Bank Iowa, and Lynn Area Credit Union. We hope that all of you tuning in at home will stay connected with us at the Catherine McAuley Center. Please go and find us on Facebook today under Catherine McAuley Center. You can also visit our website to find more ways to stay engaged. Today, especially, and leading up to Saturday, which is truly World Refugee Day, though we're celebrating today, I'd ask you to consider doing one of two things if you're feeling inspired. That's to give or to become a fundraiser. We have a goal of raising $7,595 in honor of World Refugee Day here at the center. That is the number of miles from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where many of the refugees resettled by the Catherine McAuley Center come from, to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 7,595. You can give or become a fundraiser by visiting our website, cmc-cr.org, and clicking at the bottom left of the page on World Refugee Day. Whether you're giving, fundraising, or simply sharing the messages you heard this evening, your support keeps our neighbors connected to educational and supportive services all year long. From all of us at the Catherine McAuley Center, thank you for celebrating us and have a wonderful night.